Hey y'all, welcome to Geek Freaks. I am Frank, and I'm joined by Thomas.
Hello, everybody.
Today we're going to be focusing on D23. We're also going to tap in on some X-Men 97 and discuss the Lanterns. I think it's going to be a pretty interesting rest of 2026 based on what we've seen so far. But before we get into D23, what are your plans for December 18th? When we got Dune and we have Avengers, what are you thinking?
I mean, yeah, no offense to Dune, because Dune is stunning. It's incredible. I'm really looking forward to this one. Doomsday is like, I'm going to, kiss my wife, kiss my son in the head, and then I'm going to Doomsday, because like that is the plan. Yeah. And then Dune will fall in somewhere in there.
If I can get early screener tickets, because I think I can for Dune in IMAX, that'll change my entire outlook. Because then I'm like, okay, I could enjoy it and watch it on IMAX. But I do think Avengers takes precedent, especially after this last trailer. There is this like outside shot of something that we might try to do, where we might go to the drive-ins, because we have really cool drive-ins over here, which of course the quality won't be as good, but the experience is where it's at. And like us and Squeak's family and John's family, and like we all bring lawn chairs out there, and everything you do is in double features. And I know those two movies are gonna be double features. So you just watch them back to back. And it's like, might do that. I'm not sure. It's definitely not gonna be as pristine as watching it like an IMAX, but might pull that off.
Man, double feature on that though. The ultimate Doomsday, if you will. That is that sounds amazing. I 100% want to do that, but I will have a 1-year-old, like 1-year-old with 2 months there. I don't, I get one of those movies per day with my current situation, there's no way I could do both back to back. But man, what a time though. This whole year, you talked about like the rest of this year, but I feel like this whole year has been pretty outstanding for movie and shows, man. Like such a good year.
Yeah. House of the Dragon, X-Men 97, we just finished. We have still good shows on the horizon. Daredevil, Born Again. There's a lot of Wonder Man. There's a lot of things that are already done, and it was like, damn, that was good. But let's use that to launch off onto what's coming. Let's talk about D23, and let's start with that trailer. I think one of the big takeaways for me on that trailer for Avengers Doomsday is RDJ's voice, I think, is unrecognizable, and might have been one of my biggest worries going in, is like, will this feel like they're copying out? But I think it's going to be distinctive enough to where we won't really see RDJ until the reveal is earned. I was surprised by the voice, is what I'm saying. What did you think about it?
Gosh, dang. Heck yeah, that was definitely one of my biggest concerns. Also there, and I think in time it will be revealed how everybody responds to seeing Doom. But that voice was like, how are they going to mask Robert Downey Jr.'s quippy and whatever voice? But he is a different character, and I think it sounds, I don't know what a Yugoslavian, like Slavic, the accent sounds like. But if I had to imagine one that was like deep and imposing, I think it's pretty damn good. So, I love it. I also liked in this one seeing more of the characters together in different situations, really feeling like this is the first time where I felt like, oh yeah, this is an Avengers movie. It's one thing that they're all going to be fighting together, but I don't know. This one, it felt like, oh, all hands on deck. We all have something to do, and we all need to be at our best to win this, which is so hard to do, I think, in movies. But they've nailed it. I think for at least 4 times before. So I have no reason to doubt this one.
Yeah, it does feel like the thread's high enough. There's even this thing where, like, I think we're piecing together a lot of the story, where like maybe Victor destroyed the planet that the Fantastic Four are from, because they definitely have this past relationship. There's this big loss. We would assume it's his mother. Could be wife and kid. But nevertheless, like we're kind of getting a picture of what the story is going to be. But there are so many players on the board and so many past relationships that we have through nostalgia, through repeat watches of these movies, that like even knowing generally how it's going to go, it's going to hurt. Knowing that Secret Wars is next, this is all still going to hurt us.
I mean, there's a lot of characters that are in the trailer that aren't in other parts of the trailer. There's some characters that I'm very certain that are in the movie, and they're not in the trailer. There's going to be a lot of surprise around this, and there's going to be a lot of loss. Like there's going to be a lot of loss in this movie. And I'm ready to, I don't even want to say I'm ready to be hurt again, but I guess I am. I'll have to be ready by December.
Yeah, I'm going to call right now. First 2 to go down, Xavier and Magneto. I think that Let's be honest, guys. They're up there in age. We got them all over the marketing. Let's
Yeah.
call it a day after that.
I can see Professor X. The only reason why I think maybe not Magneto is there's a part in the trailer where it's Magneto and then it cuts to Gambit and it looks like they're in a different building and there's no other
Okay.
X-Men that I see in that part. So I'm like, maybe Magneto gets to go on. I don't know. But yeah, gosh, Professor X, like how many times can you kill Patrick Stewart though? Like the dude's been killed on screen so many times as Professor X.
Bro, that first time, no, God, that was so. I remember being in theaters watching that and just like, well, how do we go forward from here? Like, just in life.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it was like he got shredded to pieces by Jean, and it was just like, this is the worst case scenario. We can't do anything else now.
I know. Yeah, and every time he gets killed, it kind of lessens it a little bit. And like Multiverse of Madness was so shocking, but like it's like, okay, do you need to do that anymore? I don't know. But
Yeah.
I think the other aspect of this that I'm really digging, seeing Pedro and I'm gonna call him by the characters. Seeing Mr. Fantastic's relationship with Doom in the part where he's screaming at him, "Did you do this? Did you?"
Yes.
This is the most like weirdly we got a whole movie with him, and this is the most like read I've felt where like that relationship
like
is
that take.
definitely there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, there's the aggression that Reed sometimes shows in the comics. It was not in his movie. Was this kind of like blind aggression that he might have, especially when it's like for the betterment of mankind, what he deems as that. And then also like when you add in what Sue was saying over that too, of how he used to be a good person, Victor shows that like
right.
we're probably gonna get a flashback where these two used to work together and they used to be friends. And you know, like he's
Please give
clearly
us a
on
flashback.
yes, and he was clearly on that future foundation too. Like we know that that's going to be a case. So something happened that just made him collapse completely, and I'm hoping we get a little tease of that. But how do we get that flashback without showing Tony, or I'm sorry, RDJ? Maybe they'll save
Yeah.
it. Maybe they'll save that for like Secret Wars.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. I was like, I think maybe Secret Wars you do it to show who he was before, and then you really play it up almost like a reverse Infinity War Endgame situation, where it's like we get a lot of Doom here, but we really are focusing on what the heroes are trying to figure out. And then in the next movie is the Doom movie, and then part of that is the flashback to show where Victor started, how him and Reed met, the ultimate fall of like what turns him into who we see now, Doctor Doom. And you know, and then it wraps up with like how is he defeated. And so yeah, I can see that happening. But man, it looks really damn good. I think this was my favorite. I mean, for sure, I'm sure a lot of people feel this way, but this was definitely my favorite trailer.
And one of the things I'm getting out of my comments too is this is the first time people took Doom first, like took him seriously, especially following Thanos. Like, man, how's he gonna outdo Thanos? But I think people seeing the full gamut of him jumping off the building, which clearly he was using magic to do that, and then when he his stopping Stormbreaker, but then also throwing back Thor. I think the power scaling is starting to make sense to people now.
Him.
Yeah, and it was like nothing that Hemsworth could have done to stop that. It looks good. One of the things I love about trailers, this is such a classic, we're on social media too much, is it fosters new theories. Just looks like, oh, I like that idea. And one of them I thought was like, I don't know if I like the idea, but interesting, is what if Tony Stark Iron Man is the only Victor Von Doom variant that was good and all the other ones are bad? Have you heard that one yet?
Yeah. I have it. I like it. It seems cool because it makes Tony even more special. And it makes him like the one oddball, that crazy guy, you know, that launched this whole thing. He was the one in a bajillion person that, you know, was actually good. And then makes him just, I think it even lifts Tony Stark, you know, already Tony Stark up even higher. So yeah, I like it.
Yeah, that's always good. Okay, let's go ahead and start looking at some of the other stuff. I know we could be talking about Avengers like literally all day. But we have a reveal of our X-Men cast, and I think all around pretty good. I'm a little worried about our Xavier, but I'm very excited about our Sinister. Is there anybody that's really standing out to you?
Yeah. So I love the cast. I think everybody looks fairly comic accurate. I'll say that. Now, you know, people. I think we live in a time where, at least online, people want the actors to look like the characters, and that is so fair. I appreciate it. It feels like it checks a big box. I guess my thing that was like a little curious, and I'm on the fence about, even though I think she's phenomenal, as someone who recently watched Obsession, is Inde Navarrette. Like, she is such a good actress. And actually, I was surprised because I watched Superman and Lois, and I didn't think she was that good of an actress in that show. Although I had nothing to say bad to say about her.
Yeah.
I thought she was perfectly great in the show, but I also now think maybe the writing wasn't perfect for her. But man, was she so good in Obsession. Everybody knows that. I don't know how that rogue is going to work in a sense. Like, it just feels a little bit like making her kind of fit that role, which I'm not angry about. I'm also not saying she can't do it because I think she can. But I think the rest of them are just so comic accurate. And then a lot of them have done Broadway. Broadway doesn't mean you can be a movie star, but it does show that you have some chops and that you can keep something going and just really play it out. And so a lot of them have that theater background. Yeah, I think they look great.
Let's talk a little bit more about Indy. I think Indy, first off, the casting for her is just being like, she's hot right now. This is a good way to start our X-Men. So there's that level I think we have to understand. But also when I see her, I see a very young Rogue. I see a Rogue that was like on the streets thieving, maybe closer to Sister of Nightcrawler Rogue, into the little Thieves Guild stuff, maybe even tricked into Magneto side Rogue. So I don't see the full-fledged Rogue that we see in X-Men 97 or in the comic books nowadays. I think I'm seeing a girl right now who's like wearing gloves and very careful and a little worried about her own power and just kind of coming into her own adulthood.
So well said. It's funny though. I think my worry is the same worry I had about Robert Downey Jr. Besides, how are they going to deal with him looking? Is like, how is she going to sound? Because Lenore put out such a sweet post to her saying like, congratulations, and I think you're going to do an amazing job. And they were like, commenting back and forth to each other. But I just I hear Lenore's voice, and I'm like, I don't know if I could hear Lenore's voice coming out of Indy. Not that it needs to be that, but how are they going to blend this? I think that's my only concern, which isn't even that big of a concern.
But bro, I hear Lenore's voice when I read Rogue in comics all the time. Even though I love the old X-Men movies, and she's not Rogue there. So it's like there is the ability to separate the two, but yeah, you're hard because it's like Lenore is distinctively Rogue now to the point where her book is named after Rogue and stuff. Yeah, that's gonna be tricky.
Yeah.
Christopher Abbott though as Professor X, that's the one I have the biggest complaint about. He just does not give off those vibes for me. I think he's a little bit too young for the role. I'm a little worried about this. And they also said, by the way, that Magneto is not going to have a Holocaust background because he's going to be too young for that background. So Magneto, we could presume, is going to be the same age as Christopher Abbott.
That's wow. I did not know that Magneto won't have the Holocaust back. I don't know how you can even do that character without that. I mean, I know people have given so many other scenarios, but there's been a bunch of genocides and all that stuff. But
yeah, they'll find another one.
I just feel like that's so pivotal to his character. So I think that's pretty interesting. Right. But Abbott, I'm not as worried as I think maybe other people are. I didn't watch all of Girls, but Girls was one of those shows that Christina would put on and she watched it all the way through. And I've seen some scenes with him. And it doesn't mean I've seen his whole Rolodex or I've seen him in a bunch of stuff. But he comes across very intelligent. And he also comes across very stoic, and at the same time, kind of kind and open. So I do think it could work. He almost does give me a little bit of James McAvoy, and I like it because he is kind of he does fit the New York scene. So there's a lot of pluses for me with him as Professor X, and I don't know. I'm not as worried about him in that role as, I don't know, maybe some other people.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm putting too much Patrick Stewart on him. I'm having the same problem you do with the Rogue, I think. Because I'm sitting there he's not Patrick Stewart enough. Well, Patrick Stewart wasn't Professor X enough sometimes. And that kind of someone who actually is a socialite many times. And
for sure.
We see him, hobnob in space and stuff. So there is something there. Maybe, you're telling me.
And the guy's in the comics is hooking up with a lot of girls. If you have not picked up a bunch of X-Men comics he gets with a lot of girls, I mean, disability be damned, good for him. And it doesn't, it's awesome. He has some swag, and so I think Abbott has some swag. We never saw Patrick Stewart really have a love interest. We saw McAvoy's did and that worked out really well. So for me, he's playing more towards McAvoy McAvoy than he will be towards Patrick Stewart. But like 15 years from now, 20 years from now, maybe it fits. Maybe it's like, oh yeah, this guy is Professor X. And I think there's so many things that we still haven't seen in live action with Professor X. They really leaned into that relationship. But I also want to see him, be a father figure to these kids and yet not necessarily be that older than them. Or I also want to see him kind of manipulate things. And I also want to see him be that rich kid from New York that chose to be a good guy and be like, you know what, the money's not everything. How do I like protect my people? And I don't know. I feel like a lot of gravitas from him. Again, not in the same way Patrick Stewart is, because he's in his own category. I mean, like he's his own thing. Like I don't think you can kind of touch as Professor X. I think all you can do is be different, and I think he could do it. So I have a lot of faith that he might be a great choice.
I remember exactly where I was driving when I heard on the radio. This is back when he used to listen to radio when you go to work in the morning and not podcast. But they had announced Heath Ledger playing Joker, and thinking like the guy from A Knight's Tale. That's I don't know about this guy. Maybe if he smiles right.
Yeah.
Now the best Joker, I think. Like he's so freaking good. Mark Hamill could test it, but
absolutely,
like what I'm saying. So like sometimes you just gotta trust the casting and see how this person's gonna play it out, and it might end up being something like even Joaquin Phoenix's Joker too. Like you're right. Like it doesn't mean you have to be the next Patrick Stewart. You just got to give something new to the role, and so maybe it's trying it up.
Yeah, and I think that character is ripe for exploration. Just like you were saying with Rogue, like you're right. I think they could totally do a different spin on it. My heart right now, and we're gonna, I think, talk about it, is like X-Men 97 is the goated X-Men project for any type of media, any type of like movie or show. It's X-Men 97 for me, or I guess X-Men the animated series is still like my peak X-Men thing outside of the comics.
Yeah. All right, we're going to talk about the next two castings for X-Men because we can't ignore them. Then we're going to go, just kind of give a kind of a rundown what's going on. Then we're going to talk about Vision Quest, and I think that's where we'll wrap up D23. Everything else we talked about on social media and on our website if you guys want to check those out. But Maya Boyd, her ability to capture a stage, when I was seeing her, because after these are announced, you start looking into them, and she sings. What she sings, it's like gorgeous singing. But also when she's doing that, I'm like, that's Storm calling to her surroundings. I'm like, that's it. That's her bringing. We just got done seeing her use solar flares. I'm like, yes. So there's something there. I think it's a nugget that's there.
Definitely, yeah. Like she's kind of the Mon Vellani in this, or Mon Vellani's situation, right? Like she hasn't really had a lot of. She has no on-screen appearances, right? She's only done theater, and so I saw some clips of her singing too, but her stage presence is insane, and the girl's stunning. Like she's beautiful. So I think that personality, her ability to kind of make the spotlight shine on her, along with how stunning she is, man, she's gonna be an incredible Storm. I think they did a really good job, and I love the mix of some well-known actors and some completely unknowns. I think that is so perfect for the X-Men.
And she's at the right age. Do you think we'll see her on Black Panther 3? Or in Black Panther 3?
100%. I definitely think she's going to be in Black Panther 3. And I think you even cast an unknown, because it's what Coogler kind of did with Ironheart, even though the show didn't end up being as great as we hoped. She had a hell of an introduction in Wakanda Forever. You give Storm something like that with a young T'Challa, sparks, and I mean pun intended, sparks are flying. That's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, that's going to be. Oh man, you're right. We're in this era where we're going to have these couples, these really fiery new couples, and the older couple that's going to be the example to them is going to be MJ and Spider-Man at some point. That's cool.
It's great. And that worked out really well into the Spider-Verse. Like I'm super for that. And I know I'm trying to think, like, depends on who else is around after Secret Wars, but there's going to be some
I'm thinking Cyclops
and also
Jean, that's going to be a young one.
I mean, I think that's the thing I'm most looking forward to, is seeing the chemistry between Kit Connor and Sadie Sink. I know we've obviously saw her with Lucas, and that was sweet and everything, but these are kind of more adults. I want to see that passion and that, but a little bit of doubt with Wolverine. But then I can't stay away from you, Scott. And Scott, like, being like, I will do anything to keep you. But then also like, oh no, here comes the White Queen. And, my head starts turning.
My head would turn as well, man.
Right? Yeah.
Lastly, let's talk
Sure.
about our big bad, and I was hoping this would be the case. Mr. Sinister is taking the stage with Sir Adam Driver. I mean, he's not really a sir, but my God, that guy's so dope.
Yeah.
Kylo Ren, I think, is totally underappreciated. The writing did him wrong, but
Definitely.
his performance as Kylo Ren was great, and so him playing Mr.
Absolutely.
Sinister, I think, is just right.
He's gonna be so good. I know I've seen him in a bunch of other things. Like I think Kylo Ren, and again, you're probably right, is probably one of the things I like him the least in.
Fair.
But
Mhm.
he did a movie about them trying to invade a sect of the KKK in Colorado, and he played kind of
Black
like an
Klansman, I
undercover
think.
cop in it. Yes, yeah, that's what it was.
Yep.
And he was phenomenal in that. He also is from Girls, so he has a relationship with Abbott, and
Respect.
I thought that, that was kind of the start, but I'm trying to think of what else I seen him in recently.
He
It
did
was the
Ferrari
dinosaur movie.
recently. Yeah, he did 65, which
Oh,
is a dinosaur
Ferrari.
movie.
So yeah.
Yeah. I think the movie that
He's a
really kind of
phenomenal
woke me up
actor.
to his acting performance is going to be it was called White Noise. And the movie was just okay, but his performance in it as like a dad character compared to how he was as like Kylo Ren, I was like, this guy's got range. Because he went from
He
Kylo Ren, who was kind
does.
of like this, like,
One
barn
note, kind of
size
whiny.
heartthrob. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's also meant to kind of be like the edgelord. And then in White Noise, he plays like full on Midwest dad. And so just like this guy's got a
Wow.
lot of range. Yeah, so him as Mister
Yeah.
Sinister, I can't wait to see what he adds to that character.
I love it. I love it. And I think it's such a cool bad guy for the X-Men. And I will say they perfectly keyed it up in Spider-Man Brand New Day recently with talking about the different genes and selecting different genes and
Mhm.
eliminating some of them. And that's all Mr. Sinister's shtick right there. It's all gene manipulation. It's all how do we progress mutant kind? What kind of powers can I evolve? How do I merge things? And then he does it in this like sadistic way. So man, and then you give Adam Driver that as like this crazy kind of scientist who's lived forever. There's so much meat on that bone. I think he's going to
Yeah.
chew up scenery.
Yeah. It's this cast is very interesting, we say the least. It's going to be a dynamic cast, one that we can't wait to see what they bring to the table. It's going to be fun. Coming up soon, y'all.
Absolutely. Yep.
By the way, also on our website, I have posted the article kind of talking about everything that was announced at Disney Plus. I've also collected the videos that were not officially put out there, but people have been posting. So, and I have literally downloaded the
Mm.
videos and uploaded them onto our site, so they are available as long as Disney doesn't find them. And so check those out, guys. You can actually watch like the Starfighter trailer, some things there that were not actually released, so check that out. But let's get into our Vision Quest, and it's the storytelling with this trilogy. I think is some of the most experimental and just chance taking that Marvel does. And in this one, where a lot of it seems like it's going to be cerebral, it's going to be inside, and watching just like Spade, this Ultron, have full range of his acting abilities. I think I'm very much excited for this now, and I've kind of kept forgetting that it was in development.
Yeah. It's come up a few times this year, so I do remember it was there, but I love this whole idea of like, okay, we go from WandaVision where she creates this whole reality in a town, like a real town, right?
Mhm.
And then we get what was it, Agatha? It's
Agatha All
not
Along.
House of Harkness. What do they call it? Agatha All Along, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And then and then that world gets created there too. And I love seeing in this trailer, another world gets created, but it's not through magic. It's through Vision's computer brain. And it's this computer generated AI world where actually his emotions and all the things that make him, all the past AI is living there as well, including, his so to speak father slash one of his biggest villains, Ultron. And so it's such a unique idea and it is so bold and it looks cool. And they're letting Bettany absolutely cook. He's an underrated actor
Yeah.
too. I love it. My only fear with it, and granted, WandaVision wasn't a big action show, and Agatha wasn't a big action show, but like I do want to see Vision kind of being a badass. So I don't know. I just hope we get some scenes with him
Yeah.
being cool.
I just think that's not what this vehicle is. I think that's, if Vision presumably gets out of this, we'll see him do a lot of action in Secret Wars. We didn't get to see him in that big fight in Doomsday. Or, I'm sorry, in Endgame. Because he died in Infinity
Yeah.
War, like, the right way, or really died. But, like, to see him actually fighting alongside Captain Marvel, and, like, that would have been incredible. We just couldn't get in there because of storytelling.
Yeah.
And I think we'll have to wait till Secret Wars for that kind of thing to happen. In this one, we do see a little bit of combat, and we actually see a new suit for him, which looks cool. The villain is the Paladin, and he's just a throwaway villain. He's not going to be a big threat, I think. I think the bigger threat might be, again, going back to that cerebral thing of like trying to keep Ultron under control and hopefully failing. I hope the bad guy Ultron wins, because I want Ultron out and being Ultron from the comic books, you know? So
yeah. It'd be so cool to have the Ultron back in the universe and then just like fighting and give the Avengers another threat again, which would be cool because it's like we've definitely missed Ultron. I like it. I don't know anything about that villain, so I'm kind of open to whatever they give us. Is this also Jack Schaefer that is show running this one?
No, Jack had to leave this one, so it's not Jack Schaefer. That is a little worrying.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, it looks great. I can't complain. I'm excited about it.
It does look good. By the way, if Ultron does get out, just a heads up on the future of him. His like big arc that eventually he does. First off, there's the Hank Pym stuff. We could maybe see some of that. But the main thing for him is that he goes to space and becomes a leader of a like almost like a god computer for an entire society, and then attacks Earth with that. So he kind of does the Brainiac thing. That's why I kind of want to see him become Brainiac essentially.
Wow, I'm all for that, man. If we can get around to that, that'd be sick. I'm in.
Let's see. Okay, so we had Vision Quest. What was the other thing I wanted to make sure to touch on? I think that's pretty much it. We had the Ahsoka trailer. It did not give us much. What's that? Oh, Starfighter. Yeah, we had our first look at Starfighter, and it feels Andor-y, which is one of the biggest compliments I can give to a Star Wars project. Did you have a chance to watch some of the footage?
Yep. Yeah, I did. Ryan Gosling loves his cool jackets, man. He always has a cool jacket or a cool sweater, and he's got another cool one with the whole... I'm pretty sure it was the Rebel Alliance kind of symbol turned into a skull.
Upside down with two blaster rifles crossed on the bottom of it. And it was like, that will be
a this blaster rifle?
Yes.
Wow. I thought those were like, I was like, are they bones? But the blaster rifles is a sick touch. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that'll be owned. That'll be a shirt that I wear for sure. If I have to make it, I will.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of going through everything else here. Yeah, there was a lot of good stuff, guys. Oswald, Kingdom Hearts updates, Bluey's getting a movie. But I think overall...
Coco 2?
Ooh, yeah, Coco 2, which is gonna fucking shatter me, man. That first one, it's still... I mean, I can't watch that ending. That kid just can't watch it.
I know.
But it was
I was crying before I had a kid, so I can only imagine now this isn't gonna be fun.
Yeah. That's dad mode makes everything a little bit harder that way. Let's shift gears and do some reviews. Your favorite bunch of jerks are back. Watch Jackass Best and Last at home on digital with deleted scenes. Out now. Let's touch on X-Men 97. We haven't talked since the finale of that. And I just want to kind of get your gut reaction to how that ended.
So I think, if I was ecstatic, like over the moon about season 1. I know so many people were. I was actually surprised by how excited people were for season 1, and how many people liked it. Not just because I wasn't sure how many people would actually watch it, but this season, very excited too. And there were so many good moments in it, but I felt like the speed run of season 1, where they were moving through things so quickly, they had a lot of payoffs there. I feel like the payoffs weren't as strong this season. And so that was a little bit of a bummer, I would say, but there's still so many cool, awesome moments, like with having Gambit at the end, Jubilee having a cool thing with, I don't know, now it's been a second since I've watched it, but Wolverine fighting Psylocke was epic. Yeah, that one, that was, it felt cool in a sense, but also, I don't know if it felt earned in a way.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't know. What was your thoughts on finale?
Two things. First off, the pacing shift was so dramatic, I would argue jarring, where like that first season, Inferno was like in one episode. That's crazy. But it was like fun to watch something that fast. And this one really had a downshift. The ending, I felt like I rewatched it because I was recently on the Vigilante Vibes podcast, guys. It should be out this week. Make sure you guys check that out, me and Megan. So I rewatched the second season real fast just to kind of revamp for that. And I was like, man, this first like 4 episodes, or at least the stuff that's in ancient Egypt, that's some peak television. Big lull happens.
It was good.
And then we have the conclusion that kind of felt like it was a conclusion to the stuff we got in the beginning. And like everything in the middle didn't feel that impactful, really. It told story, but it wasn't
Right.
that much, wasn't that important. And I just think that like one of my biggest complaints is that as a comic book reader, yes, I know everybody comes back. Nightcrawler will be back at some point, guys. What I need is for the characters to not believe they're coming back. And I thought it was way too fast for
Mhm.
Rogue to be like, we could get Gambit back. We just have to do this. It's like, no,
Right.
the idea of resurrecting somebody needs to feel impossible to you. Not just like, I know we can do
Right.
this. And yes, this Rogue has seen resurrections already before. I mean, yeah,
Mhm.
so many times, right? I'm thinking of the old animated series. But still, this needs to feel impossible to you guys. And I just did not get that. I felt like it was like, yeah, this is all we have to do. We've done it before. Let's do it again. And it was like, and then when
Right.
Nightcrawler sacrifices himself, you're like, you guys shouldn't feel sad about this because you literally just brought somebody back. So like, you just have to figure out the
Right. Right.
magic.
Yeah, exactly. If resurrection isn't the most impossible thing, then why should we, and maybe that's why they're not really sad after
Mhm.
Nightcrawler sacrifices himself in the end, they're like, all the next scene they show like everybody's around drinking coffee and hugging each
Yeah.
other, and it's like kumbaya, which that also doesn't feel right. But yeah, I think everybody's said the pacing, but it's like even one more episode of seeing Gambit fall to the dark side, if you will, even more, seeing him really be like, wrapped up in Apocalypse's grip. And then them saying like, I just don't know if we're gonna ever get him back. Like, even if we technically save him, maybe we never get Gambit back again. Something like that, to where it feels like, damn, this is gonna be so hard. And then you throw on the X Force attacking, as it was X Force or X Factor, sorry, X Factor attacking. And it's like there's
Yeah.
just too many villains, there's so many plot lines. And then all of a sudden, hey, let's just throw in a Celestial in the mix. You're like, what? Like, I just think there was so many things that deserved a little bit more time, and I think they would have hit, but we just didn't get enough time to like sit with them. And like the middle stuff was fun. I liked the episode with the Brood and Wolverine getting his claws back, but ultimately it doesn't change anything in the story. Like, so what? He gets his metal claws back, and it doesn't do anything at the end. It's not like
I
all of a
really
sudden
thought
he
they were
can
gonna
beat
expand on
somebody
that.
he couldn't beat. What's
Yeah.
that?
I really thought they were gonna expand on the like Wolverine getting his claws back, and I thought for sure the way we had that little like hint at like, oh, it's Project X, and I don't know, I just thought they were gonna do something more with that storyline, but they didn't. It was just forgotten almost. I and that
Yeah,
all that to be said, this is some of the best X-Men you could watch. Like I
it's so
do
great
want to
though.
make
Yeah.
sure to show that as somebody who reads X-Men comic books more than anybody else I know, what are your takes on this structure? Do you feel like this is akin to any particular era of X-Men comics if people want to like kind of feel this out?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. But it's so hard because they literally cover, a decade plus in 9 episodes. And so,
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. Like, before all of these shows, and I used to do this a lot more the last couple of years, which I would read everything that I think was influencing the movie or show, and it
Right.
stopped really paying off for the MCU movies, where I was like, oh, I guess
Mhm.
this is from this and this is from this, and it's like, and then my expectations got so big, especially with Fantastic Four. I read hundreds of Fantastic Four books before watching the movie, and it kind of let me down, I think, more because I was expecting a certain read and I was expecting a certain Sue, and I think it hurt me more than it helped me. And it's like
Yeah.
you could give people recommendations for this X-Men, but like you said, Inferno, I think in the comics was like a 10-issue spread, and they did it in one episode, not even one full episode. It's like 3/4 of an episode. So you know what I mean? It's like, would you tell someone to read 10 to 11 issues for 3/4 of an episode? Like, probably not, And so I think I think this season, maybe they didn't know they were getting a season 3, but I just wish they slowed down more. Or maybe, and this sounds crazy to say, and I've seen this going around on the internet, people were like, without with Bo DeMeo, there was all this drama about all these things he said online and threw Disney under the bus, and who knows really what happened. But it just felt a little bit like something did change at the end of the season, because maybe leadership changed, and I don't know if that was a good thing.
I I think Bo DeMaio still had enough of a hand on this, but you're right. You're right. He's definitely his presence is missed, and it's a shame because it's one of those things we talk about often, where it's like creator and the drama. Like how much I wish I wish so much that we could have Kang, the Kang that we were promised, and it's like
Right.
Jonathan Majors has
Yeah.
stepped in so much shit. I wouldn't want him to touch anything Marvel again, but we're missing out on this character now because of him. and that He Who Remains, I think, was some of the best written dialogue in Marvel, and unfortunately, it's all for naught. And yeah, I think we might have been feeling some of that with Bodemayo in this too. And you just have to stick by your principles sometimes.
Yeah. They, I guess he did. I don't really know the whole scene, so I'm not even gonna get into like whether he should have been in charge or not. But it just feels like somebody just took over what was written and then just like changed up some things because I don't know, because of a business decision. And I think that's the hard part when you have something that's so beloved. And season 1 was so tight. There was that episode where some people didn't love with Jubilee, but I think it's now paid off even more. It was definitely paid off in the finale of season 1. I think it's paid off even more this season with Jubilee. But it just felt like stuff was just missing or something was like swapped out a few times, and that it just doesn't feel nice. And yet at the same time, you're like, but this is still some of the best X-Men stuff we've ever gotten on screen. So there's this cognitive dissonance for me with this season.
Good word for it. Exactly. Yeah. Let's give a grade for this thing. I want to recommend that you do watch it. It is very good. It's just I think maybe our standards were higher than what we received. I'm giving it a solid 8 still. Like, I can't say it's bad.
Yeah.
It is good. It's just that the last season got a 10. So this one's sitting at an 8.
Right. 100%. And that's funny. That's exactly the score I was going to give. And the reason why too, I mean, we've talked enough about like the story and story structure, but I think it's like the performances were still phenomenal. Like when, and even when AJ comes back as Gambit, like hearing that voice and then like the different tones or hearing the pain in Rogue's voice, even Cyclops, like I don't know the voice actor's name off the top of my head. That guy's phenomenal. Like that's a fantastic Cyclops voice, and Cable as well. And all the Nightcrawler stuff, like those performances and the pain you hear in Nightcrawler when he has to bamf Creed away and he leaves him in the snow. He's like, listen, I'm not going to kill you, but also I don't have to save you, was phenomenal. You're like, damn, that hits. And so, yeah, the voice acting was incredible. And there's still so many cool like action sequences in this too. So yeah, for me, it's still an 8.
Yeah. Ray Chase, by the way, voices Cyclops.
Ray Chase.
Job.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's killing. He's so good. He's got a great
He
voice.
really is. Yeah. I when you're talking about voice acting, of course, AJ is somebody we're extra fans of because he's been on the show. I do want to give a little extra credit because when he first appears and he's clearly controlled by Apocalypse, he was almost just like dropping lines as if he was reading them from memory and not emotion. And then as soon as Gambit was able to take control, emotion was added to his voice. I'm like, that is some skill.
Yeah.
And I hope AJ understands how freaking good he is in that spot. So yeah, that was just really well done.
Yeah. With not a lot, like he didn't have a lot of scenes this season, and I think you also feel that character missing. I think next season, I really do hope, and this sounds weird to say because he's one of like he was so cool and he was so awesome this season. He was so good. But it's like, I really do kind of hope we don't get Nightcrawler back from the dead, but I'm gonna miss Nightcrawler next season.
Yeah, Cable for me as well. I want Cable to be done for a little bit. We had a lot of Cable this season, rightfully so. It's an Apocalypse season, but let's take a break.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's move on to the start of a new show, and that's Lanterns over on HBO. This thing has got the weight of the DCU resting on its shoulders, and I think one of the key things it has to do for the DCU is set up an established hero that's been around before Superman has been around with Hal Jordan, and the future with Jon Stewart. We are going into spoilers, so be aware if you haven't watched it yet. Let's get that initial gut reaction out of you. We literally just watched it like 2 hours ago. What'd you think?
It's phenomenal. I was like, it was crazy to me because I saw a lot, I saw a lot of clips at Comic-Con, and I obviously watched all the trailers, but I feel like that was all from this episode. There was like very little from like other episodes. So I'm like, what else do they have this season? And this was done so right. The chemistry between Aaron Pierre and Kyle Chandler is like through the roof. The banter between them, the cold shoulder, the way John just takes it on the chin. God, it's so good. And I'm curious, like, I want to know what the mystery is. I'm like, again, spoilers, who killed Hal Jordan? Where do the rings go? How does John get the
Yeah.
ring? How do they eventually like work out their differences? Man, it's got me hooked. I really, really dug this pilot.
Yeah, let's stick with that chemistry first because I was somewhat frustrated with it. Just because I was like, man,
Mm.
like they definitely think differently, right? The rigid structure that's in Jon Stewart's mind that he got, that's one thing, and they definitely have that. But there was a point where I was just like, come on, Hal, be cooler. And then I remembered
Yeah.
an interview that Kyle Chandler put out there saying that like from Hal Jordan's point of view, his job is being taken by this young kid, and then from Jon Stewart's
Mhm.
point of view, this is his childhood hero they see squandering the job. And so like both of them feel betrayed by the other person that's in the car with them. And like once you start thinking that way, you're like, okay, so these two regret or like, like they don't want to work with each other, but they're gonna start clicking and start to realize that they actually are a fine oiled machine when they're together.
Yeah, I think that they're at their core, their values, they're going to see that we're very aligned. And yeah,
Yeah.
so I agree with you. I was like, yeah, come on, Hal, like give him a break. Until there was a line where I think it's when they're in the police station and he's interrogating the alien, and the sheriff lady says, like, what happened to him? Like, that's not uh arrogance or that's not something, but that's like loneliness. Like, what happened to him? And you do
Yeah.
see, and even John says, like, man, you were a lot nicer 10 years ago when you get the AI version of him, and then you get the real life version of him now that's a lot more grayed out. So
Hmm.
we're going to see something in those 10 years where he loses something really big, and that grizzles him a lot. And I
Yeah.
think that's what I'm curious about is like, all right, is it Carol that he loses? Is it his mentor, or do we see more scenes with Sinestro? Are they going to go into the big story where Coast City gets destroyed? Like, there's so many avenues
It's
there,
big.
and yeah, he wasn't always that guy. So that
Right.
line really stuck out to me.
God, yeah. There's some really big stories that could lead down this path. I think we see from the trailers like
Hmm.
there's probably something that happened with a kid. I would argue that that little jail scene was probably the best scene of the episode. I feel like we got a lot in that thing. First off, we got Hal being justified. We also saw him kind of go from like gruff cop to I almost felt like Kyle Chandler like let in a little bit of joy into Hal's life when it was starting to become like, gotcha, you don't know Hogwarts, gotcha, which of course is a
Yeah,
WB property. I knew that they did that. But it was
yeah.
like
Yeah, yeah.
like there was a little bit like I'm the old Hal for just a little bit there. And then Jon Stewart also like on the other side of that watching gruff asshole like, oh, he was right. He's still a detective in there. And like I just thought that there was something where
Yeah.
we're starting to see some of shine of what's coming up. And to his credit, couldn't even name the damn actor's name or the character, but that alien, which I presume is a manhunter, revealing like, so what if I did do this and I have a spine full of nuclear bombs? It was like, that's delivered well. Good job by everybody in the scene.
100%. Definitely one of the best scenes in the episode. I think I have a few favorites, but that was definitely one of them. And yeah, it also shows his wit, right? Because I think what this show is doing a really good job, which is really freaking hard to do, is like, who is the hero without the powers, right? And
Mm,
they've really hammered it home that the Green Lantern is just a person. I think one of my true favorite scenes in this episode is in the first 5 minutes where you
yeah.
see all the boys watching the TV, and and you see the young Hal Jordan, and he looks at the screen and he's like, "I just want everybody to know I'm just like you,"
Yep.
and
I'm just a regular guy.
the only thing that does set him apart is that he has more will than anybody in the planet, right? And other than Jon Stewart, and I guess we'll have some Guy Gardner in there or whatever. But
Yeah.
it's gonna be yeah. So I love that they're playing into like who are these people without the power, right? And then you get to see a lot of wit in there with him in the interrogation scene. So that was super. Yeah, that was just nice. Cool.
I felt the way they're hammering home the question so much that it's actually a false narrative coming up. I think that Hal Jordan has practiced that speech about how he found his ring or how he got his ring because he told it to kids in the mall, he told it to girls at the bar. He's told that speech too many times, and I don't think that he was asked, "Do you have fear?" and his response was like, "No, I have no fear," kind of thing. I think he was afraid.
Yeah.
And I think he got the ring thinking he was not the right fit for this ring. And so when Jon Stewart lived his life trying to live up to his dad, who was still calling his dad, by the way, to get his okay, a dad who was shooting a fucking apple off his head, and those bullet holes go up that thing. So he's been doing it since he's a toddler. Bad dad alert.
Mhm.
God damn, that was crazy. Sorry.
Well, it's funny.
It was crazy.
I was asking Christina. I was like, either that's the best fathering ever, or like the worst. I don't know yet, because like it obviously worked for him.
Yeah, but what was Christina's response? Don't do that.
Pretty much, yeah. You like, I would kill you if you tried that for sure. Totally.
Yeah, of course. But so obviously Jon has like a very dependent relationship on his dad, and I think that this idea of like I can't be afraid. I think all that's gonna break, and we're gonna find out. This is just a prediction that Hal was never asked if. Yeah, I think he was afraid in that moment. And he thought what was cool was to say you're not afraid, and then Jon took that, and plus his dad, of course, and also kind of like both these men are living false perspectives of what it means to be a hero, and they're both gonna learn together the truth.
Ooh, I love that. The false perspective of being a hero. I think that's really well said. The other thing that you kind of tipped me off to there, now that what I think, and I think you could be right, is that Hal doesn't feel like he is afraid. He doesn't know if he deserves the ring. And I think maybe Jon Stewart truly is fearless. As we saw when he's a kid, he puts that apple on his head. His dad pulls out that pistol, he shoots. That kid is not worried about a thing. He could have been like just walking down the street, listening to his favorite song. Like, he did not look worried. So maybe he truly is fearless, and Hal Jordan isn't. And because of that, now Hal feels even more threatened, because he's like, look at this guy that the Guardians chose, and he deserves the ring. Undoubtedly deserves the ring. And I've always felt like maybe I don't.
And the Guardians chose him, and the Guardians didn't choose Hal. Hal was there at the crash site. The ring chose Hal. So it's like also like there's a level of that. And just to kind of question the fear thing, the way that they were afraid when their dad was coming home, that they had the TV on, there's fear there in their dad. And I think that there's this kind of, I'm picking up on this kind of not abusive dad in like outright, but something not right.
Well, it's weird. I think the two other brothers are afraid. I don't know if John's afraid. I think John respects his dad. That's a good catch.
Yeah.
And so the two other brothers are the ones, one is like hanging against the door sill, one's hanging, on the other side of like the main front door, and they very much look afraid. But I think even the other brother's like, dude, he's the one that turns off the channel. And then John's like, go watch the door. And he turns it back on. I really think maybe he has no fear. But he does have respect.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just really well done in these opening scenes, because it tells us everything I think we need to know about these characters. We see that Hal Jordan, whether he's practiced that speech or not, he's on TV, he's very confident. He's young. That suit's super green. He was an Air Force pilot. And he says everything that you need to know. Like, once your dad, and it's a compelling reason, once your parent dies as a kid, there's nothing else to fear. And I think that is a very compelling reason to feel like he's not afraid. Plus, like, how many people are fighter pilot test pilots? Like, not many people. So, like, who would doubt that guy? And then you see John just be an absolute badass with his dad. His dad's like, damn, like, my kid is not afraid. Let's go get a burger, kid. Man, that's so cool. I think it was such a well done opening scene. I think that was my other favorite moment in the show.
You called out before we press record. I want to make sure that you get it on mic, because I thought it was a really good point. The Watchmen series, which was very well done.
Oh, yeah.
But as you're reminding me of that early scene, I'm like, you know what? That is very much like from the Watchmen series.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we talked about it. Yeah, shoot. Now I'm forgetting. Did we talk about this on the recording or just earlier? But it's also the creative team behind it, right? Like, we got Damon Lindelof, and we got Chris Mundy, and we got the legendary Tom King, who's a fantastic comic book writer, also now screenwriter.
100%.
And I think really what ticked me off to this, besides the way the relationship is working with the true detectives of it all, is what the Watchmen does really good from the comic is it kills off a main character right away, and then the story unfolds. Again, massive spoiler here. If you've watched the episode, we end with Hal Jordan with a bullet in his head, and John coming back 10 years later to the field and seeing him and being like, what happened, and having to figure it out. And so I think it's a really powerful start. I was shocked. I was like, holy crap, they just killed Hal Jordan. But also, like, I think it kind of works. And I also think there's a lot of room for us to still see him, just like what they did in the Watchmen comic. There's still a lot of scenes with the comedian. So you get the shock of him dying, but then there's also all these flashbacks to who the comedian was and how he was integral to the story getting to where it is at the end.
Yeah, and showrunner Chris also worked on True Detectives. There it is. And so the multiple timelines is a storytelling device from there, and I think that's something we're seeing here too, is like multiple timelines going on. I have a feeling the 2016 timeline is going to explain why we have Guy Gardner, and he'll be obviously like every scene that he's talking in is the 2026 timeline. So the time there's 10 years. Guy comes in. Because they specifically said that Hal's the only Green Lantern. And I think whatever happens in 2016 will be like, hey, there needs to be another Green Lantern. There needs to be another backup that's not John Stewart.
Yeah. I think we, actually, I got a big prediction now. So, yes, right. I think Hal Jordan loses the ring. I think maybe John Stewart goes off-world, because in the comics, he gets to go off-world and he has his own sector. And so when we get around to 2026, Guy Gardner is the only Green Lantern because Hal's now dead and John Stewart is off planet. He's in a whole different sector. So for me, I think that could definitely be how it plays out.
Yeah, boy, if they go that deep into comics, but you never know. The way they did Supergirl, you never know if they're, because they pulled from comics for that quite a bit. So yeah, I overall,
and I will say, like,
yeah, go for it.
As we were talking about offline too, like Damon Lindelof said, like, he's like, this is my favorite comic book character. This is my favorite DC character. Right. He was like, I'm not going to let them do this character wrong. I was like going to do everything I could to make sure it felt like the comics, that we got their personalities right. You felt like this is Hal Jordan, feel like this is John Stewart, and that, we gave you a lot of lore from the comics too, where Green Lantern fans are going to be happy. But if you never knew anything about Green Lantern, you're going to be like, who are these characters? I got to know more about them.
That's such a way to pitch the show too, is to say it's going to make you want to read the comics. Because, there's been times where, like, we just talked about Supergirl. There's times where I'm saying, you guys got to read the comics, but maybe the show or the movie put them off of it. This, so far, quite the opposite. Like, you're going to want to look into them more, which there's such a good plethora of content out there for Green Lantern. As a kid, I was, like, crazy for him, too. So, for me, I walked away from this not thrilled, but impressed. Like, this definitely felt like prestige TV. It felt like HBO doing what HBO does best. Again with Watchmen, again with True Detectives. This felt like what HBO does quite well. And it was like DC embraced one of their tools that they have that they might not have in the past. Like, definitely doesn't feel like Peacemaker. Peacemaker feels like the Suicide Squad machine made it. And this one feels like, no, this is the HBO machine that made this one. And so, again, I walked away impressed, but not necessarily thrilled like I would be for, like, Superman. What was your walk? I don't want to give it a score just because it's the first episode, and, but what was your walk away from this one?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was, I wouldn't say it's slow. It was a lot more personal, intense. It was very dialogue heavy. And of course I was like, but I want more constructs, I want more like action. But I think they put enough seeds in me where we know that eventually they're going to be friends. I did want Hal to loosen up on him a little bit. But I also was like, why are they in Rushville, Nebraska? What is bringing them back here? Why were some of the people killed on the field and nobody can identify them? And why are they aliens? There's like just enough mystery for me to be like, all right, like I'm sold. And then you end with like a very huge cliffhanger, like, Hal's dead? Like, are you serious? Where does this go from here? And so very impressed, but there's just more I want. Like, there's just so much more I want.
Which is what a pilot has to do. So it looks like it nailed that. Then it made you want more. So quite good.
Oh my God, yeah. And I'm not just saying that. Yeah. And Aaron Pierre, like, God, does he just fit John Stewart? Like, I'm so excited to see this era of John Stewart, and just tough. And I love that he called his dad at that moment. But I also love that when they go to the farm, that guy calls him out like, dang, Marine sniper, one of the best. I'm impressed. It's like, oh, okay, like, dude's got chops, and for Hal to kind of brush him off, even to be a decorated Marine sniper, is like, wow, like Hal's got some balls on him, and then also to see, he's no spring chicken, but to take on 4, 5, 6 guys in a bar and get his ass kicked is like, all right, these are some tough dudes,
Yeah. The way he put that this reminds me of what back in my karaoke days. I used to karaoke every Tuesday. But
Yeah.
the way he just like put $20 ish, yeah, into that and just kept playing the same like poppy song. Oh my god, that was hilarious. My grandpa used to own a bar, and it was like, yeah, that would not fly on that freaking jukebox. That's crazy. Yeah.
Really, I know. I was like, and it's like old timey, and it's like this, almost kind of Buddy Holly-ish song.
Yeah.
I was like, will that really make somebody mad? But hey, it's good to know like that's pretty accurate.
Well, playing it 4 or 5 times, like like knowing that somebody put $20 in, $20 will play songs
Yeah.
for a good hour and a half. Like it's going to be a lot of that song. So yeah.
Dang. Yep. Well, yeah, they killed it. I wasn't sure on the Kyle Chandler casting because of him being older, but it really makes sense, why they did it. I think even after the pilot.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't know if we're getting too much more how. So let's go ahead and wrap that up, and let's go into our recommendations for the week. What's your pick for the week? What do you got?
Ooh, and there's not much new going on. Somebody hadn't heard about the 007 game I talked to this weekend. So man, if you have not played that, I picked that game up. I flew through it so fast. It was so fun. It's it's a little older now. I think they have some DLC coming out pretty soon. But that's a phenomenal game, and I think it gets 007 really right. So probably an oldie, but it's still a goodie to me.
Yeah. Where are you at with Dungeon Crawler Carl? Let's check in there.
Ooh, I'm on book 3. I'm only like 3
Nice.
chapters in. The trains, there's trains everywhere. There's things trying to get on the trains. They're trying to get off the trains. Yeah, and that's kind of it. But that book 2, so book 2 wasn't my favorite, but it ends so damn strong. It was like, holy crap, that's where it ends. Yeah, I'm like, Jesus, and then we get Mordecai changes every floor. And what's her name? Natalia is still with them. It's good.
Katya. Yes.
Katya.
I will say you're gonna start to like her a lot. The key with book 3, and I'm sure you heard it before, but I'll just reiterate right now. Do not pay attention to the train routes. They don't matter at all. And it's purposely meant to be confusing. So like there's people who try to map it out. There are maps that are out there, but they're purposely meant to not make any sense. And then of course, like that makes sense in the story. But yeah, I really liked book 3. I think it's I would argue it's the book when Dungeon Crawler Carl starts. That's so weird to say. But it's the thing that was like, oh, I see what the story's about now. I mean, like, as if, and already at this point, of course, already at where you're at right now, I'm already like, God, I love this series so hard. But then, like, halfway through, you're like, oh, I get what we're doing. Hell yeah, that's badass.
Wow. I know, I've heard that, like, book 3, there's a big turn. So, man, I'm so excited. But, yeah, it's so crazy. I've never done this, but, like, I'm, like, going to sleep. I'm trying to, like, go to sleep listening to it, and I set the timer. I, like, fall asleep to the book. So, yeah, it's crazy. Plus, I got my little guy in here who's just coming in the room now, so we'll see what he says.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What's up, team? 2 more minutes. Real quick on DCC, I ended up getting halfway through book 4 on the cruise and realized I wasn't paying attention enough because I was like playing Sudoku and doing cruise stuff. Then I restarted book 4, and now I'm back to about halfway through on book 4. So loving it. It's really like book 4. I think is the one I want to play the most. I keep saying that to like the disconcerting guys. Like, I just want to play this video game. Book 4 is by far the most that. And it's fantastic, and it's just so complicated. Something just happened where it was just like, how can they still find emotions in me after this book? It's crazy. And they do. They find other things. Like, I gotta forget about that character. It's crazy. So good.
Well, there was definitely characters in book. Oh, yeah, sorry. There was definitely characters in book 2 that never came up again. So I'm like, holy crap, where are they? Like they're bound to show up.
There's characters in book 1 that are popping up right now. So yeah.
Wow.
All right, guys. That'll be my recommendation. I think is just join us for Dungeon Crawler Carl as we're continuing our adventure through that. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.
Well.
Most people overpay for car insurance, not because they're careless, but because switching feels like too much hassle. That's why there's Jerry, your proactive insurance assistant. Jerry compares rates side by side from over 50 top insurers and helps you switch with ease. Jerry even tracks market rates and alerts you when it's best to shop. No spam calls, no hidden fees. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Switch with confidence. Download the Jerry app or visit jerry.ai/Libsyn today. That's JERRY.ai/LIBSYN.
When you need to send the perfect rose bouquet, only one brand can say they've been the floral authority for 50 years. 1-800-Flowers. Why should you trust 1-800-Flowers? They hand-select every stem to ensure top quality. And with nationwide delivery, smiles and satisfaction are 100% guaranteed. And right now, when you order a dozen multicolored roses, we'll double it at no extra cost. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Order today at 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast.
Back to school is busy enough. The last thing you need is shopping that makes it harder. Whether you're moving into a dorm, your first apartment, or just getting organized for the semester, Wayfair makes it easy to get everything you need in one place. Furniture, bedding, storage, decor, study essentials, all at prices you'll love, with fast shipping before move-in day. Get everything you need for back-to-school season. Shop Wayfair.com today.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
I think most people are looking for more simplicity these days. That's one reason I appreciate Azure's Standard. At first, I thought it was just about groceries. Then, I discovered gardening supplies, pantry staples, household products, and so many of the other things we use every day. They've spent over 30 years delivering clean, organic groceries and earth-friendly products to families who care about what goes on their plates and into their lives. Everything they offer is rooted in real nutrition, transparency, and trust. What I like is that it encourages a different mindset. Instead of constantly running to the store, you begin thinking about your home differently. You stock your pantry, you plan family meals, maybe you plant a garden. You become a little more intentional about what you bring into your home. That's what abundance means to me. Experience new products and stock up on your favorites during this month's Waves of Abundance sales. Discover a simpler, healthier way to shop for the things that matter most at AzureStandard.com. That's AZURE Standard.com.